Hello, this is Keith Owen. Welcome back. Today's tutorial, we're going to be creating like a little summary data frame using Python and Excel. And basically, we're going to create a data frame based on this data set below. Once we do that, we're going to create a unique list of stores that exist in this data set. Okay. And then we're going to create a drop-down data validation list based upon these unique list of stores. And then after we do all that, we're going to create this little summary table over here that's going to give us the unique years in this data set. And we're going to do some aggregations based upon those years. And you'll see which ones we do. So let's first of all, let's create our data frame over here. And to enter Python mode, we have to press equal PY, tab into this, and we're going to select our data frame. Okay, so we're going to select this over here, Control Shift down arrow, Control Shift right arrow, Control backspace. And then let's press Control Enter, and it's going to return a data frame for us like you see here. So if we click in this cell, you can see it created the data frame, and there's a little over 1,100 rows in this data frame, or this data set down here. And basically what this data set is a retail data frame that I created through ChatGPT. And as you can see, it has the years, the industry, the state, and the store types, and all this other information here. And we're going to aggregate this based upon the year and the store type that we select. So now let's get a unique list of all the store types in this particular column. So let's go over here. And actually, let's name our data frame. So let's go back over here. We're going to name it. So it's going to be data frame underscore retail. This is something that you could call whatever you want. Equal. Let's press Control Enter to commit that. So now when we want to access this data frame, we just use this variable that we just created. So let's go over here. Equal PY, tab into this, and now we're going to data frame. As you can see, it pops up in our list, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create the unique list now, and we're going to select the store type column. So in order to do that is we need to access this particular column with square brackets, and it's called store type, and it's case sensitive, so you have to type it as it is in the data frame. And then let's close that out, and then we're going to use the dot unique method, and then press Control Enter. Now it brings back an array, a NumPy array, but let's now spill the results into our cell range here. And the shortcut key is Control Shift Alt M as in Mary. And as you can see, it brought back a unique list of stores that exist in this data frame down here. Okay, now we got that. Now let's build a data validation so we could select these lists. So let's go over here and let's do Alt. It's going to be using the shortcut key Alt A, V, and V. So let's select the list And then we're going to go over here. Let's click this arrow here, and we're going to select it over here. And now press OK. And now it created a list here. So now when we select a certain store type, it's going to recalculate the summary table based upon the year and the store type that we have. So now let's get into the actual code to create this summary table. And let's start with here. I'm gonna start typing it out here, and then what we're going to be doing is building a custom function within Python. So when we want to call it, we call this function and pass in two arguments, which is our data frame and what we're going to be selecting over here. So in order to create a custom function, you start out with def. Okay, and then you, whatever the name of the function is, I'm calling it summarize underscore retail underscore by year. And then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to pass in, oh, wait, I forgot to enter in Python command mode, so let's escape out of there. So I'm going to press equal py, tab into that, now pass that. Now press enter, tab over, and I'm gonna, our first, we could do this on one line, excuse me, data frame, comma, selected, store, underscore type, dype, it's gonna equal to none, and then I'm gonna explain this function as after we get all this code in here. So I'm going to do that. So we have to press a colon. Now press enter, tab over, and then we're going to do an if statement. If selected store type, press enter, tab over. So it's going to be data frame is going to be equal to data frame again. We're going to be filtering this by the store type that we bring in. So data frame, we have to type in the name of the column. Is it going to be equal to the selected store type? Okay. Now what this line of code is doing is, first of all, we're going to be accessing the store type column. Okay, we're going to be checking to see if it's equal to the passed in store type that we bring in. If it is, it's going to create a Boolean mask, trues and falses. And then once we do that, then it's going to be passed on back to the data frame, and that data frame is going to look at that Boolean mask for any trues, and it returns all the rows that are true. So basically that's what this is doing here. Let's do that. So that should be there. Now let's press enter. Okay. Now our next step is we create the summary data frame. Okay, I pasted in the code to show you the summary data frame that we're going to create. And don't worry, I'm going to go through this step by step. So it's basically a group by function that we're using. As you can see, what this all entails. And then at the end of the function, after it creates this summary data frame, we're going to return this data frame, this smaller portion of a data frame, back to the call that we will make. And let me go ahead and type that in. Okay. And then let's press enter, backspace out of there. So we're going to create summary, another data frame, okay, equal to, this is our function call. So right now we're gonna be calling what we have up here. This is the defined function. So we're gonna summarize. It's already listed in there. And we're gonna pass it in our data frame, retail underscore retail, which is this data frame. This data frame retail refers to this one that we created over here. And this data frame right here is the entire data frame, all our rows and columns. So we're going to pass that as the first argument. The second argument is going to be the selected store type. That's going to be equal to this value that we hear. So we just click on that, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to press Control Enter to commit the changes. Okay, return the data frame. As you can see here, what it did here, returned our results here. And so now what I want to do is I want to display it here. So Control Shift Alt M to spill the results here. Let's increase this column here. Okay. I already pre-formatted these columns here to have currency. This one I'm going to format as numbers because it's the number of employees. So I go up here and then I could select number with comma separated. So let's go ahead and decrease the decimal. And so we got that. So now let's go ahead and step through this code to see how it's calculating everything. So basically what this group by function is doing is taking the year, okay, and then it's gonna do it year by year. It's gonna accumulate all the rows with, say, 2015. It's gonna grab all the values, all those rows, average annual wage here, and then it's gonna create in Python it's called the mean, which is the average. Okay, and then it's gonna do the same thing for employees, but we're gonna count everything up. So we're gonna aggregate it by the year, and then we're gonna sum up the employees column. And the same thing with total sales. We're gonna do the same thing by year, and then we're going to sum up the total sales column for that particular year. Then over here, we're going to do the average sale by employee. So in other words, we're going to get the rows, all the rows for 2015, and then we're going to go to this column here, and we're going to average that out. So let's go back up here. Oops. Let me, there we go. Okay, so let's step by step. So in other words, this is the custom function. You start out with a custom function with DEF, which is defined. Okay, again, we're going to pass it two parameters, the data frame, which is this, and the selected store type, which is this. Now you're probably asking is, I'm putting in equal as none. So what does that mean? None means that it is optional. First of all, I don't have to pass in a second argument. But what this does, it gives it a default value, and it's just called none. Now in um, Python, what it is it's called a singleton object and a built-in constant in Python, and it's case sensitive. So the word none is case sensitive. You have to have the uppercase on, and it's just basically called a singleton object. Uh, and it's a built-in constant within Python. So once I come down here, okay, to this next line of code, I'm asking if selected store type right here. Okay, so in other words, what it's checking to see if a value was passed in. If a value was passed in, then it's going to fall through to this code right here, which is going to filter this data frame that we passed in by the selected store type, electronics in this case. So that's basically what that is doing. Okay, so so if nothing was passed in, then this if statement would not go on to the next line of code that's indented because no value was passed in. Okay, and it's just gonna do a summarization based upon all the rows. Okay, and not segregating by a store type. So let's go down here. So it would just take the entire data frame and group everything together in that instance. Okay, so now this filtered data frame over here gets passed down here by the group by. And so we're going to be grouping by the year. Okay, so as you can see here, so we're going to aggregate everything by the year. And what does as index equal false mean? Okay, if I don't use as index equal false, what does Python do then? So what Python does, it normally, the group by column, which is year, okay, turns the grouping column into an index of the resulting data frame. So in other words, if I exclude it as index, then it's going to say that year is the index column, and all other columns that get returned are going to be just regular columns. Okay, and by setting the as index parameter here equal false, you're telling Pandas, which is a library, don't make year the year column and index. Keep it as a regular column. Okay, so that's what that is. And so if we exclude this, the year column becomes the index. Okay, but in this instance, we're going to have year as a regular column in the data frame. Now let's go down to here. The next, our dot notation here is, again, we're chaining the thing together with this group by, and we're going to be using the ag function here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be aggregating on multiple columns here. And so when we do that, we have to pass in like a dictionary. So these curly braces, meaning anything in between there, is going to be a dictionary. The first part of it is going to be the key column, which is the average annual wage column. And what do we want to do with that? We want to calculate the mean. Again, in Python, it's mean. In Excel, it means that we're averaging that column. So for the employees column, then we're going to be summing up the total sales. We're going to sum up, and the average sale by employee, we're going to get the average. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. And then once all that is done, we're going to be using the dot sort values function. And what this does is we're going to be telling Python that after we aggregate everything, we want to sort by the column year. So that's what we're doing in this instance here. So that's why we're passing in year, because we're telling it, okay, we want to sort by this column. And by default, it's sorting this column in ascending order, as you can see here. So let's scroll down again here. So once all that is done, we're going to return the data frame. So basically, this is the call that we made, and we're going to be returning the data frame here. Okay, and it's going to be called then, assigning it to a new data frame called summary. So once we press Control Enter, we get these results here. So let's escape out of that. So that's how you could build a small little summary table using Python in Excel. Hopefully this tutorial was very helpful for you today, how to group your results and how you can create a defined function within Python where you can pass in a parameter and assign a default value in case you don't pass in a value that parameter. Again, I want to thank you for stopping by today. You have a great day. Remember to subscribe to my channel. And as always, please like and share, because this will get this video out to more people. Because I know other data analysts out there want to learn this information. And again, look forward to more videos on this topic of using Python in Excel. Thanks again. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.